The women's 100-meter hurdles race at the Philadelphia stop of the Grand Slam Track Series delivered a performance that was less about surprise and more about confirmation of a shifting balance in elite sprint hurdling. On paper, the field was stacked with proven names and championship experience, yet the race unfolded in a way that highlighted precision over reputation and execution over expectation. At the center of this race was Ackera Nugent, who produced a winning time of 12.44, and did so with a level of technical clarity that separated her from the rest of the field almost immediately. What made this performance stand out was not just the time, but how controlled it looked from the first step through the final barrier. In sprint hurdles, the margins are often decided in the first 3 strides, and Nugent's opening phase was close to flawless. Her reaction time was sharp, but more importantly, her transition into the first hurdle carried no visible tension, which allowed her to attack Barrier 1 without hesitation. The early phase of the race is where many athletes either build their race or lose it, and Nugent used this phase to establish dominance. Her stride pattern into the first hurdle was balanced and efficient, avoiding the common mistake of overstriding under pressure. This allowed her to maintain rhythm between hurdles 1 and 3, where the race often begins to stretch. Her lead leg was direct and fast, while her trail leg snapped through, cleanly minimizing airtime and preserving horizontal velocity. Behind her, the competition was already under pressure. Tia Jones, who finished second in 12.60, showed strong acceleration, but lacked the same level of fluidity over the barriers. Her race was built on raw speed rather than technical consistency, which meant that while she stayed competitive in the early phase, she began to lose ground slightly through the middle section. This is often the decisive zone in the 100-meter hurdles, where maintaining stride rhythm becomes more important than pure sprint speed. Megan Tapper, in third place at 12.66, delivered a composed performance that reflected her championship experience. Her strength has always been her ability to remain technically stable under pressure, and this race was no different. However, compared to Nugent, she lacked the same level of aggression between the hurdles, which meant that while she remained close, she never truly threatened for the win. One of the most intriguing aspects of this race was the presence of McLaughlin-Levrone, who finished 5th in 12.70. Known primarily for her dominance in the 400-meter hurdles, her transition into the short hurdles adds an interesting tactical dimension to her career. In this race, her raw speed and strength were evident, particularly in the latter half, but the shorter rhythm of the 100-meter hurdles exposed small inefficiencies in her barrier technique. The spacing between hurdles in this event demands a different kind of precision, and while she adapted well, she was not as sharp as the specialists in the field. The middle phase of the race from hurdle 4 to hurdle 7 is where Nugent effectively secured the victory. Her consistency through this section was remarkable, with each stride landing exactly where it needed to be. There was no visible adjustment, no stutter steps, and no loss of balance. This level of efficiency is what separates elite hurdlers from great ones, because it allows them to maintain maximum speed, while others are forced to correct their rhythm. Another key factor in Nugent's performance was her posture. Throughout the race, she maintained a forward lean that was aggressive but controlled. This is crucial in sprint hurdles because excessive upright running can lead to inefficient clearance and wasted energy. Nugent's body position allowed her to attack each barrier while staying low and fast over the hurdles, minimizing vertical displacement. In contrast, athletes like Tanea Marshall and Ditaji Kambunji showed moments of strong execution, but lacked the same level of consistency across all 10 barriers. In a race decided by hundredths of a second, even a slight hesitation or imbalance can create a gap that is impossible to close. Both athletes demonstrated competitive speed, but their rhythm fluctuated slightly, particularly in the later stages of the race. The final phase from hurdle 8 to the finish line often determines whether an athlete can convert a strong race into a winning performance. Nugent approached this section with the same composure she showed at the start. There was no visible tightening, no loss of form, and no drop in cadence. Her clearance over the final hurdle was clean and efficient, allowing her to transition smoothly into the sprint finish. This ability to maintain technique under fatigue is one of the defining traits of top-level hurdlers. As the race progresses, lactic buildup and neural fatigue can disrupt coordination, leading to errors in timing and stride placement. Nugent's performance suggested not only physical readiness, but also a high level of neuromuscular control, which is essential for maintaining rhythm at maximum speed. From a broader perspective, this race also highlighted the evolving depth of women's sprint hurdling. The presence of multiple athletes capable of running in the 12.6 range or faster indicates a highly competitive field where small technical improvements can have a significant impact on results. The gap between first and fifth place, while noticeable, is not insurmountable, which suggests that future races in this series could produce even tighter finishes. For Nugent, this victory represents more than just a single win. It reinforces her position as one of the leading contenders in global sprint hurdling and demonstrates that her development is moving in the right direction. Her combination of speed technique and composure makes her a difficult athlete to challenge, particularly when she executes at this level. At the same time, this race provides valuable insights for her competitors. Athletes like Jones and Tapper have the speed to compete, but will need to refine their technical consistency if they want to close the gap. For McLaughlin-Levrone, the race serves as a reminder that success in one discipline does not automatically translate to another, even within the same general event category. Ultimately, this race was a clear example of how the 100-meter hurdles rewards precision above all else. Speed is essential, but without technical efficiency, it is not enough to secure victory. Nugent's performance combined both elements in a way that left little room for challenge and set a high standard for the rest of the field. As the Grand Slam track series continues, this race will likely be remembered as a benchmark performance. Not because it was unexpected, but because it was executed with a level of clarity and control that defines elite hurdling at its highest level. What adds another layer of importance to this race is how it fits into the broader competitive calendar and the psychological impact it creates within the field. Early and mid-season performances in events like the Grand Slam track series are not just about points or prize money, they are about sending a message. And in Philadelphia, Ackera Nugent sent a very clear one. This was not a narrow victory built on mistakes from others, but a controlled demonstration of superiority built on her own execution. For athletes like Tia Jones, the takeaway from this race is both encouraging and challenging. Encouraging because her raw speed keeps her within striking distance of the very best, and challenging because the gap is clearly technical rather than physical. That kind of gap requires a different type of training focus, one that emphasizes rhythm drills, hurdle efficiency, and repeatable mechanics under fatigue rather than just sprint development. In the case of Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, this race may prove to be strategically valuable, despite not resulting in a podium finish. Competing in the 100-meter hurdles exposes aspects of speed coordination and barrier frequency that can indirectly benefit her primary event. The shorter spacing between hurdles forces quicker ground contacts and sharper movement patterns, which can translate into improved efficiency in longer hurdle races if adapted correctly. Another subtle but important observation from this race is how clean the overall field performed. There were no major collisions, no dramatic stumbles, and very few visible breakdowns in form. This suggests that the current level of coaching and preparation in women's sprint hurdling is reaching a point where even non-winning performances are technically solid. The difference is no longer about avoiding mistakes, but about achieving near perfection. This raises the standard for what it takes to win. In previous eras, a clean race might have been enough to secure victory. Now it simply keeps an athlete competitive. To separate from the field, an athlete must combine clean hurdling with aggressive intent, and that is exactly what Nugent delivered. Her race was not just error-free, it was proactive. She did not wait for the race to come to her, she imposed her rhythm on it from the very beginning, looking ahead. This performance also introduces an element of pressure. Once an athlete demonstrates this level of control, expectations shift immediately. Future races will not be approached the same way by her competitors. They will study this performance, adjust their strategies, and potentially take more risks in an attempt to disrupt her rhythm. How Nugent responds to that pressure will be just as important as the performance itself. In that sense, this race is not an endpoint, but a starting signal. It marks a moment where one athlete has clearly defined the current standard and challenged the rest of the field to respond. Whether they can close that gap will define the narrative of the season, but for now, the message from Philadelphia is simple. The bar has been raised, and it was raised through execution, not chance.